Black Clover Chapter 329. We talk about whether Lucifero was finally defeated this time and about Adrammelech's plan and the purpose of his early introduction. I'm sure he could have been introduced later without having to watch the whole fight. Could Adrammelech become the teacher of Asta and Liebe to teach them the devil's language and show them all the devil's techniques because he realized their true potential? Also, only small percentage of the people who watch our videos are actually subscribed, so if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing. Please enjoy this video. Let's go! What? Unami didn't upload anything for a whole week? You can probably hear that I sound like crap. And I've been feeling like crap all week. Of course we're not going to stop making videos, duh. But even our 4-leaf clover prediction grimoire won't protect us from sickness. We are going to take it slow and hopefully be back as soon as possible with 5 videos a week. But without further ado, Black Clover Chapter 329. Before we start with the actual review though, a few very interesting words about the official translation of the last chapter. If you remember, we said that we have to wait for the official translation of the flashback of Liebe and Licita. And indeed it could be very important here what exact words Licita used. She told Liebe that she had a child, a little boy, and that he would be about his size now. And that got me thinking. This basically means that Asta was as tall as Liebe was at the time of this conversation. Licita didn't mention age, which is kind of weird, but that just shows that it might be important for Tabata to emphasize that Asta is as old as Liebe is tall. If we take his height and compare it to the average age of a child of Liebe's height, which to be honest could be a few years old, maybe 3 or 4 years old, but definitely not a baby. And we know that Asta was given away by Licita when he was literally a baby. So if he's Liebe's height at this moment of the flashback, that means many years have passed since then, which then might cause difficulties for our theory that Asta was given away by Licita only a day before Liebe was found, due to the information we have from their character profiles. Asta can't possibly be as tall as a 3, 4, 5-year-old kid after only 1 year. This theory would only work if we assume that Liebe spent several years with Licita, and not only 1 year as we assumed, based on all the seasons shown in the flashback. And indeed, if we compare Liebe's height on the day he met Licita with his height on the day of this flashback, he was definitely a baby devil, and has grown into a child. So it's possible that Liebe was with Licita for a few years, which could then open up some new possible clues that we will have to analyze in more detail in another video. Many have said that Asta and Liebe could not have been the same age, because Liebe could already walk and talk. However, we must not forget that it is possible that devils are simply different from humans, and may be able to talk and walk from birth. Why not? We can definitely see that Liebe has grown, and it has been confirmed that he was as tall as Asta at the same time, and both are now the same height, which may indicate the same age even though Liebe was taller than Asta when he was a baby and also appeared older. It makes sense why Tabata didn't draw Liebe as a human baby. Imagine what it would look like if devils beat up a baby and then humans tried to kill him. So if Asta and Liebe are the same age, I understand why Liebe was drawn a little older. Even mangas have their limits. Another interesting thing I noticed is that Licita and Liebe were watching the sun in Hage, because behind the speech bubble we can clearly see the huge skull of the demon god Licht. This means that Licita could have been living near Hage the whole time, which in turn means that her walk from her house to Hage wasn't as long as we assumed, and therefore less dangerous for Asta, which shouldn't make any difference since it's even dangerous to just be near her for a few seconds. But on the other hand, it's even stranger why she assumed she would never see him again when she literally lives nearby. She doesn't have to hug him, so why does she say she can never see him again? Which again speaks for the possibility that she might have known that she will die sooner or later, and that a visit to Asta would be dangerous for him since she can't leave Liebe alone due to the fact that Lucifero could show up at any moment. This will then explain why she never visited Asta. So more and more speaks for our theory. If you are new, check out our last Black Clover video where we explained our theory in more detail. We will definitely make a separate video about Licita, maybe in a few weeks, because Tabata definitely seems to be cooking up something on this topic about Asta's and Liebe's past. So we don't want to do a whole video on it right now, only to have Tabata drop new hints, especially now that there's a possible in-between arc coming up, which is usually full of new information. So we might wait with the theories until the next arc starts. Let's see. For now, let's start with the new Black Clover Chapter 329 review. The chapter begins exactly where the last chapter ended. Lucifero was completely slaughtered. He's missing arms, legs, horns, his body's cut into 4 pieces. You can't be in a worse condition than that. But apparently not even that is enough to defeat the so-called King of the Underworld. And so Lucifero goes on with his whole King of all Devils bullshit. As always, I find it very interesting how Lucifero keeps emphasizing that he is apparently the King of the Underworld, the ruler of all devils, the strongest of all demonic creatures. Over and over again, especially now in this chapter, he literally sounds like a broken record. And yet we know that there are 3 rulers of the Underworld introduced to us in a way that rather gives the impression that all 3 rule the Underworld equally. And right now, this is the question that interests us Black Clover fans the most. Was this really the King of all devils? The strongest devil of all? So we have 2 possibilities here. Either Lucifero is full of shit and he fits the personality trait of Dante and does the personality narcissism of the Dark Triton psychology, which is why he exaggerates even his own position, just like Dante did with a crown and all. But in reality he's only one of the 3 rulers, which would explain why Adrammelech, for example, disobeyed Lucifero if we consider that he could obey one of the other 2 rulers, maybe Beelzebub. From demonology we know that the Underworld is in fact a political regime in which different people hold different positions with different powers, like in any other democratic parliament. Beelzebub, for example, is the founder of the Order of the Fly being his symbol in demonology. This order is a great court of devils in hell, and one of the highest positions, if not the highest, next to Beelzebub, is the Grand Chancellor. This position is held by none other than Adrammelech. What I'm saying is that although the hierarchy of devils in both demonology and Black Clover is based on power, since devils are just beings who have no other way to determine their positions, they have nevertheless managed to establish a political system in which they do not necessarily have to obey one person in particular. This in turn opens up the possibility of a supreme ruler who stands above the 3 rulers of the Underworld. In demonology, Satan is often mentioned in this context. In many versions, Satan is trapped under what is actually the lowest layer of the Underworld. The reason for a political regime then could be due to the fact that only Satan can have sole control over all devils. And since Satan was separated from all devils, they decided to establish a democratic government to rule the Underworld for the time when Satan cannot be in power. The overall control was therefore divided among 3 rulers: the Time Devil, the Space Devil, and the Gravity Devil, who since then pretends to be the only ruler, which will fit his pathetic fight. Because it's pathetic to pretend to be the king when you're really not. Considering Lucifero's personality, I can very well imagine how Lucifero would actually bow down to someone even more powerful than him, and with fear and respect. Not like Adrammelech mocked Lucifero when he asked him for help. You feel me? That's a whole different vibe. And suddenly everything would make more sense. In my opinion, this would be a very good way to solve this problem with Lucifero. He will be one of the strongest devils, but by far not the strongest. Or Lucifero is really the king of all devils. If that is really the case, then he's probably the saddest king there is. He was disrespected by several supreme devils and then completely humiliated. Literally defeated by what he considers the lowest of the low. 2 beings without magic. Many people say that if Lucifero is really the king of all devils, the reason for all the disrespect is that he has not fully manifested himself. But in my opinion it feels wrong. I mean, theoretically of course that could be a valid reason, along with the evil nature of the devils, which stands for disobedience. I understand it completely, but do we really want to have a main villain or semi-main villain, whatever Lucifero is, that can't even be respected and feared just because they not fully manifested? You do this kind of thing when you are little with your parents when they want to whoop your ass, but can't get to you. So you get cocky, you know? But you don't do it with a murderer who you know is going to fuck you up when he gets to full power. You see what I mean? It just feels wrong. We don't have to accept and praise everything just because it's in Black Clover. It's okay to question or even criticize certain things, but you also can't blindly fall into your disappointment without knowing 100% what Tabata has planned with Lucifero. I see so many people saying that Lucifero is a bad and weak villain, but no one has complained about Lilith and Nama. And why? Because they know that Lilith and Nama were just supreme devils. Lucifero as the king should be much stronger stronger. Apart from the fact that Lucifero was only 50% manifested and fought against the strongest humans ever, at the same time alone, and even almost won. I for one also believe that it is total nonsense how Lucifero has been portrayed all this time, if he is really the king. But I have been mentioning this since the first chapter where Lucifero appeared, and that's why I suspected that he might not be the strongest devil, even though he mentions it all the time. Does this make Lucifero a bad character or villain? Absolutely not. We will have to wait and see how this whole situation develops, who Lucifero really is, his position to the other rulers, and so on. I mean, what did people expect? That Lucifero will just kill Asta? Wow, great, Black Clover's over. Before my partner continues with Black Clover Chapter 329, take a moment to leave a like, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Lucifero rages that it can't possibly be that two people without an ounce of magical power can defeat him. And so, with no arms or legs and only half of his body, Lucifero uses his gravity magic and brings everyone to their knees, and then shows once again how strong he truly is. This man has no limbs left, and yet his magic gets everyone around him in trouble. Of course, it's no surprise that the humans can solve the situation without a problem, since they had already defeated Lucifero before. This was simply Lucifero's last pathetic attempt to do anything, but his main goal was to escape. And so our prediction came true once again, that Lucifero would indeed try to escape. What we didn't expect, however, is that he actually wouldn't succeed. So definitely an interesting turn of events. Asta and Liebe have overused their anti-magic to the point where they can't cancel out Lucifero's gravity magic. And so once again it looks like Lucifero has the upper hand, even if it was only for a small moment. But it wouldn't be Black Clover if they didn't surpass the limits together one last time. You can see how Lucifero is literally afraid of Asta, and he, of all the unnaturally strong and surreal beings in the world, looks at Asta and asks, what the hell is he? As if Asta is a being that even Lucifero does not understand. He doesn't understand how Asta can go on with no end in sight. Lucifero then shouts that the next time they meet, when he has his full power, he will definitely win. With this, Lucifero once again emphasizes that he knows Asta's current highest power level in his Devil Union mode cannot yet match his 100% manifestation, and so Lucifero opens something like a portal through which he tries to escape. But before he could do that, Yami and Nacht helped Asta to his feet, with Yuno using his star magic conjunction to teleport Asta to the star next to Lucifero, so that Asta could deliver the final blow to Lucifero, with the final message that there will be no such thing as a next time. Considering the way Lucifero was defeated, one could assume that Lucifero would never return. This would mean, however, that if he really is the strongest devil, that we'll never see the strongest being in full power. We will never know the answer to the question of what would have happened if Lucifero had fought Asta in his 100% manifestation, which would be a very bad concept for the whole series. But if Lucifero really is the strongest devil, then it is only logical that Lucifero will return in his full strength. And if he really was defeated for good, then it is clear at least that he cannot be the strongest devil. All we can say is, one can assume that his real body could still be in the underworld, especially since we haven't seen his full body dissolve, as it did with Zagreed, Lilith and Nama, or Magicula, which is strange, because we've also assumed that Magicula didn't die either, as she couldn't fully manifest, so it's possible that her true body is still in the underworld, but Magicula's manifestation still dissolved. So a half-finished manifestation of a devil behaves exactly like a real devil body. Of course, only if Magicula is still alive. So a real devil body, even if only half manifested, should have dissolved after death. Lucifero did not dissolve, which then again either means that he was not yet completely defeated, or that it was simply not Lucifero but perhaps something else. We then see Adrammelech excited for the first time. He claps his hands and congratulates Asta on his victory. It's not really a surprise that Adrammelech finally speaks up after Lucifero is defeated, and just as we predicted it seems that Adrammelech's entire early interaction was for the sole purpose of ending ending the Spade Kingdom arc. So as this battle has ended, along with the fact that the Spade Kingdom arc is now almost over, the only remaining possibility for Adrammelech is, as we have suspected since the beginning of his introduction, is to be used by Tabata as an element to initiate the action for the next arcs in Black Clover. He could say something like that in 1 or 2 years all the gates will be open, or something of a similar nature that gives us a direction for what might come next. He could talk about the remaining rulers or a possible supreme ruler ruling over all 3 rulers. He could mention a whole other danger besides the devils or anything else that helps to understand the next arc. This is the real reason why we said that the next chapters could be huge, because of the contribution we expect from Adrammelech. It is still possible that there will be no information and he will be directly the next enemy, but we strongly doubt that this is the case, since all of them are on the verge of death, or at least at the end of their mana and physical strength. So without reinforcements, they won't be able to do anything against Adrammelech. At this point, fighting just doesn't make sense anymore, and also fighting wouldn't fit with his mysterious behavior throughout the Lucifero fight. In any case, we expect to find out why Adrammelech disobeyed Lucifero and what would happen next. What exactly Adrammelech has to say could really be anything at this point. Tabata has made Adrammelech's personality to be unpredictable. In demonology, he is described to be the most evil of all devils, which could explain why he disobeyed Lucifero. But at the same time, Adrammelech also conveys a kind of feeling as if he doesn't want to hurt people for some reason, which doesn't mean that he doesn't have an evil core. We saw him telling people to run away without hurting them when he was first introduced. Then he refused to fight Juno and Meriliona, and now he applauds Asta's victory against Lucifero. We can assume that if Adrammelech is evil, he has his own plans. Perhaps several devils are planning to overthrow the old order in the underworld, or to throw Lucifero off the throne as king. Maybe Adrammelech wants to make a pact with humans. He helps them become stronger and tells them what comes next in return for letting him live in the human world. If we assume that Adrammelech is not really evil or good, but just doesn't want to be bothered with anything that would fit his lazy personality. But to be honest, in our society, it is already good to be considered not evil, and it sounds wrong to say that there is a good supreme devil. So we should take this last idea with a grain of salt. Nevertheless, Adrammelech would be a perfect master for Asta to learn. For example, to read the devil language so that Asta and Liebe can read their grimoire. With this, they could finally use anti-magic spells. Adrammelech could also teach them all the devil techniques. He would definitely be the perfect teacher. Of course, we must not leave out the possibility that this Lucifero was not Lucifero at all, but part of Adrammelech's magic. Even if this possibility is most unlikely, it is still possible and therefore worth mentioning. Lastly, we should also mention that the 4 cocoons are more important than ever right now, as well as the 4th Zogratis, the remains of the Dark Triad, Yami's Devil Heart, and of course, Julius's connection to the Clifford Tree. All these things could suddenly become very important at any moment. Do you have any idea what Adrammelech might reveal in the next Black Clover chapter, and how the Spade Kingdom arc might end? Let us know in the comments below. So that's it for today, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to smash the like button, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe with the notification bell turned on. See you guys in the next video. Yami out.